Hiya, I'm Clarissa, I live in Sheffield and I've got ADHD. ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, and it's a condition that you're born with, and you can either grow out of it when you're an adult or you can have it for life. So some people will not experience ADHD symptoms when they're grown up and some people will. I found out about my ADHD when I was 19. So a little bit later than most people get diagnosed. A lot of people get diagnosed in childhood. And as a teenager, I was very much a daydreamer. I was well behaved at school, especially in the subjects I really enjoyed. So my favourite subject at school was English, and I would put my all into it. I would spend all of my time doing English work. I would be really focused in those lessons, whereas in the lessons that, like maths for example, that I really didn't enjoy, I would often find myself unable to sit still. I couldn't focus. I would find myself, because I didn't find it interesting, I found it to be very hard to kind of work on. So now I find my ADHD is more an asset than a disadvantage personally, because I'm a very optimistic person. I'm very creative. I do suffer with low self-esteem sometimes, like even now, but I think that's quite common for people with ADHD, and especially when you're earlier in your teens, that's something that's very common. I use the internet a lot. I belong to the generation that doesn't remember a time before the internet and especially growing up, it was very useful for me because I always knew I was different, and it was very helpful to find people that were similar to me, whether that was, obviously I didn't know I had ADHD at the time, but for me it was more like the creatives and the people that were a little bit different, and I really enjoyed that aspect of the internet. Nowadays I use the internet to watch a lot of like Netflix, like to watch a lot of videos, and I use it a lot for social media. I do find it very stressful in the sense that I think the modern world is very notification kind of focused. So when I'm trying to focus on work, for example, and my phone is constantly lighting up, I found that very distracting. I'm kind of unable to turn that off, and I find that very stressful. But however, I do think there are advantages to the internet in the sense that there are a lot of websites out there that written by people with ADHD about coping mechanisms, about the positive aspects of ADHD, and I think that's incredibly positive. If you don't have ADHD and you have a friend with ADHD, my advice in terms of kind of like speaking with them on the internet is just to have patience. Our minds work very differently to people who don't have ADHD. We've got very quick minds. We often think, we often link subjects, and our minds are very like jump from subject to subject, and when you're having a conversation with someone with ADHD, they will often jump from subject to subject to subject, and that can be a really positive thing because it means the conversation is very optimistic and very kind of varied, but just have a little bit of patience with that and just know that that's just how we work. Thank you.